Already got a thumbs up. Wow, that's a record. Good evening, one and all. Felipe, how are you? Just reading through my messages. Thankfully, all the pipes that I sent out after the sale seem to have arrived, which is good news. Hey, Pipes and Bees, Pipes and Spirits. Thank you for the shout out the other day, Pipes and Spirits, much appreciated. I've said it before in videos that sometimes it can be a bit of a mixed kind of feeling when you send pipes out, especially pipes that you were fond of, to other people, and you can have a negative feeling about it, and a feeling of sadness or regret sometimes even. But thankfully I don't have that. Thankfully, when I see them go to a good home, I'm really very happy. And especially with pipes which are not 9mm, even more so, I'm happy that they're going to a home that they're going to get smoked. I hope I'm not going through another light bulb moment with pipes and starting to fall for meerschaum pipes. Bit of a double-edged sword, finding something new that works. I'm a little bit nervous that I'm going to start delving into meerschaum pipes now. It's a tight fit. I don't know if it comes up on your screens, but there's already a little bit of a tinge on this. Very slight yellowing of the bowl, very slight. Hi Tree, how you doing? Just reading, I was just in the middle of watching your video, thank you very much. Very nice, Yellow, and thank you for doing it my style. It's good to see it. Smoking some of McClelland's Christmas Cheer. Have you tried any of the tobaccos, Tree? Curious to hear what you think about Northwoods, Tree. Josh is in the house. See, Josh, it just rolls off my tongue now, your name. Because I know if I don't get it right, it'll cost me another pipe. Well, I'm doing a pretty full bowl in anticipation of this little chit-chat. This pipe, this is the, I'm sure you've already seen it, but it's the Club pipe, Pipe Club of London, as you can see, PCOL, and it's the 2018 Club pipe. And I've really gotten to like this pipe a great deal. The London, it's getting some good colour, yeah. The London Fog is Virginia Woods by McClelland's and Orlik Golden Sliced. And you can mix it up any kind of proportion you want. My preference at the moment is 60% Virginia Woods and 40% Orlik Golden Sliced. If I'm honest, it's not a wow blend. It's just a very nice. It works. Like for me, it works any time of the day. Whenever I'm kind of in doubt, what do I fancy? I know that I can always turn to London Fog and just enjoy a good bowl of tobacco. Um, I've been smoking a lot of the McClelland Virginias recently, but I find that the Audit Golden Slice just gives it a little bit of a bit more of a spicy body. The tobacco rises out of respect for the flame. Tree Tamp. There you go, Pipes and Spirits. Hey Tim, how you doing? Oh no, I've just remembered. Oh no. We were supposed to be opening this, weren't we? This was the Dunhill Navy Rolls and the Escudo. I've had it in here under pressure, well, kind of, sort of home style pressure, for exactly 1 week. We've got a little bit of a fizz there. I'm doing well, Tim. Thank you. Yeah, nice weekend so far. This stuff is rock hard. This all I've done is taken a load of bubble wrap, rolled it up, and squeezed it in, and it's a lot of bubble wrap, and it's really, because of the springiness, it's pushing out against it. So it definitely is giving it some pressure there. There's probably a good couple of ounces in there squashed into that little space. Maybe not as much as 2 ounces, but just give it a little bit of a mix up. I must say, not much of an aroma coming off it. I think we'll put that back. And depending on how long the video goes, if we manage to smoke some of it, good. If not, we'll leave it for another week. Can only be a good thing. So, yes, thank you, Felipe. I was watching Tree's video of the package opening. By the way, you guys, if you're not subscribed to Tree, search Pipe Tree on YouTube. You want a quintessential British kind of presenter, check him out. Some proper English humour done properly. Tree, you mentioned that you were watching Matches and Sergeant Savinelli. Sergeant Savinelli. And they were smoking some half and half. Well, you've probably seen that I've got a tin of half and half, which was in the vintage tobacco sale, which didn't sell. I'm just wondering if there's any way of aging this one, because they're saying that you can't compare the old half and half with the new half and half, and I'm not a big burley guy, but if the stuff is good, don't know if I'm tempted to open it or not. Hey Jim, I think I'll regret it if I do open it. Yeah, Tonkin bean. I think Tonkin bean is a bean which gives it a bit of a vanilla style flavour. Or is that deer tongue? I think it's deer tongue actually. Joe Fish 65 is in the house. Alright, okay. Cheers, Tim. I wasn't sure if it was deer tongue or Tonkin that was the vanilla. Well, Jim, I guess you better batten down the hatches. The travel mug is what I usually take in the car with me. I couldn't find my usual mug. Actually, I've just spotted it now. I must have used it on Friday and set it. It's on the side on the shelf in one of my wardrobes in my room here, and I must have forgotten to take it downstairs. And it takes a little bit more this, so it lasts a bit longer, and it keeps it warmer for longer, so no harm done. Thank you, Jim. I really ought to do, somebody has asked me to do a tour. Well, I would imagine it is before the 70s at least. I thought it might be older possibly, but it's got to be at least that old. I'm sure there's ways of, hi Jay, I'm sure there's a way of dating it by the various different artistry, and there's a company here which I think did the canning. It says Canco, I suppose it's Can Company. There's lots of different hints and things which people will be able to use to date it. The description on the top is the American Tobacco Company. Half and half has a friendly, fragrant aroma, a blend of sweet burley and golden Virginia. Bright tobaccos made in USA. 14 ounces smoking tobacco. Vacuum packed. This method of packing maintains the quality of half and half under all climatic conditions. Oh, Shrekken. Finally, back in the house. I haven't watched it. I'll still watch it when I get the time. Hey Phil, how are you doing? Last time you were here for 10 minutes, it was more like 100 minutes. Smoking the new club pipe, the Meerschaum, and I'm smoking some 40th anniversary. Matches. Good morning, Quaker Piper. We are 20 minutes into the morning here in London, UK. Has anybody on tried Boswell's Dan's blend? My last shipment that I got from the Boswells, I got a few more different Virginia blends, and I also got some Dan's blend, which I haven't tried. I'm just trying to find the bag. I also got some of this stuff, which I fancy trying. Rattray's. I haven't tried a single Rattray's tobacco so far. Meerschaum smokes dry, for sure. That's the raison d'etre, really, of Meerschaum pipes. The stone is very absorbent, and I also have a filter in as well, so this stuff, I'm finding generally that it smokes quite quickly. It draws out the moisture, so the ember is pretty dry. And as you can see, it's getting a fair amount of use already. Rattray's Accountant, I didn't get that simply because it's, I think it's quite a strong English, and I'm really not on Englishes at the moment at all. I imagine as the autumn comes and the winter comes, I'll be back on it, but at the moment I'm Virginia all the way. Especially McClellan, Virginia. And if you saw my box opening recently, Maui very kindly sent me a couple of ounces of 5100. Which is there. It was very nice of him. Reckon there was something I wanted to say about the cigar video I did recently. Let's get it up on my other screen. Buonasera, Sandro. So, in that, what's the black curved entrance? That's a cigar lighter. It's a desktop cigar lighter, but you can actually make it into a soft flame as well. Well, at the moment I'm smoking some 40th anniversary. Rattray's Virginia, Kentucky and Perique are stunning. Which one would you say is the best one, Quaker? That's a good question. What Cohiba would you smoke for the first time Cohiba smoker? Any Cohiba cigar, not the Maduros, but if you want to have a good experience the first time round, get one that's got at least 4 or 5 years age on it. If you smoke a fresh Cohiba, sometimes you can be lucky and they're smokable and they're not bad. But if you get a Cohiba, as opposed to a lot of the other ones which you can smoke fresher, but Cohibas need more time. They really do need more time. So if you can get one 4 or 5 years, a Cohiba Robusto, fantastic cigar. You can get the Sigilo 4, which is a very nice cigar. I find the Sigilo 4 perhaps slightly more punchy than the Robusto because it's a narrow ring gauge, but you've then got the risk of a tight draw, which you will get sometimes on a Sig 4. I heartily recommend the Robusto. It's got the best of all worlds. You could also go for the Medio Siglo, but it's a very new cigar. It's only newly released in the last year or two, so I would definitely go for the Robusto, definitely. If I had some with some years on it, I would send you, but I don't. They definitely, if you get a good one, they've definitely got the X factor. You know, people sometimes talk about hype on certain blends and brands of cigars or blends of tobacco. Excuse me. But with Cohiba, for the most part, it's justified. It does get a little bit more frustrating if you get a bad one because they're expensive, so it's a lot of money to waste. But if you get a good one, they do have the X factor. They've got that extra bit of richness in there, which is not hype. It is there. Yeah, Pipe Grump's intro is fantastic. That little cartoon, great stuff. Where did you get that done, by the way, Josh? Perdomas are nice. You made that yourself, Josh? ATH. I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure some of my learned friends here will be able to inform you better. I'm not a big corn cob smoker. Got a few, but I don't smoke them very often. And I've got to say that this 40th anniversary is not tasting as mouth-tingling as it usually does. And definitely the Meerschaum is trimming it a little bit. That's pretty awesome, Josh. That's good stuff, Tree. You should have enough for a few bowls in there. If you run out and you want some more, just let me know. Yeah, I mean, I don't claim that it's an awesome blend or anything like that. Like I said earlier on, it's just something that's, I think it's good middle of the road smoke, and it's something that I can turn to whenever. I do find that, as you do with a lot of tobaccos and pipes, that the same tobacco can taste very different in different pipes, different climates, different way you rub it out. Thank you, Pipes and Spirits. Did I send you some? I don't remember. Alright, sorry. I can't remember who I do and don't send it to. I don't keep any kind of log. But I seem to be sending away more than I'm smoking of it, to be honest, and I just keep running very low. So that's what's left of my current batch. And I'm very fast running through the Virginia Woods, so I have to slow down my gifting of London Fog. But Quaker, Pipes and Spirits, I've got your address, so I'll try to remember to do that at some point. I'll try and remember to send you some. And Quaker, if you message me with your address, I'll send you some. Oh yeah, you definitely should. One thing's for sure, if you come up with a blend yourself that you like, it will always have a good place in your heart and you'll always enjoy it. You won't be able to get Virginia Woods anymore, not easily. McClelland's have closed now, so and you'll have to pay a premium for it as well, unless somebody gifts it to you. I started off with about 6 or 8 tins of it, 100-gram tins, and I've only got about 4 left. So I'm really getting through it pretty fast. Yeah, Tim, 100%. That's how it goes. I've still got some of your Oriental Dreams. That Robert McConnell Pure Cuban, is that just cigar leaf? Yeah, I'll have to try it again, Tim, definitely. I should really jar it. Yeah, Pipes and Spirits. I was chatting to Old Berg. We were messaging each other about tobaccos, and I was asking him to try and get me some McClellands. He said that the E1 Reese, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Ivan or E1 Reese, they had a square stand in the middle of the hall at the pipe show in Chicago, and they had a lot of tobacco, and they were limiting it to 10 tins per customer. They had queues and queues apparently, and it sold out within half an hour. And they were selling them at very good prices, normal standard prices, possibly even lower than retail, some of them. So I wanted him to get me some, but he said that it had all gone, and there was just the odd aromatic left. I did manage to get some Christmas cheer and 40th anniversary from crappy pipes. I mentioned it last time, I think. So I did pay a little bit over the odds, but for UK prices it wasn't too bad. It worked out at about £35 for a 100 gram tin, which is what we would pay here. You pay here £16, £17 if you buy it retail, maybe £13 or £14 online. Yeah, that is crazy. I mean, by the time you got to the end of the show, he probably sold some of those at 150. So I managed to get some Christmas cheer 2016, some 2017, and some more 40th anniversary. I managed to get 1 tin of Frogmorton Cellar, and then I got in touch with him again, and he still had a few left after the show. So I think I got some more Christmas cheer 16. So I found that to be more rich than the 17, and I got a little bit more 40th anniversary, I think. I can't remember. I'll do a video when it arrives. I would have liked to have gotten some Virginia Woods, but I haven't found any Virginia Woods since the last time I bought, which was before the announcement. So I was lucky that I kind of came across London Fog before the announcement and was able to get those few tins. That's a good question, TH, because I don't know why, but I sparked this up at the meeting, which I have not done before with any new pipes. But I just had that, I don't know, I just decided to go for it, and I don't regret it. It smokes fantastic, and I've not really enjoyed the other Meerschaum pipes. But it could be that I hadn't smoked 40th anniversary or any of the Christmas cheers in those pipes, and I put a link to an article on a couple of Facebook groups. A fantastic article, a very well written article of an interview with the McNeils about the whole closure. And I must be honest, I posted the video at the time when they announced the closure about my frustrations about it. In the US you'll struggle to find the Meerschaum with a filter, that's true, but you can get Meerschaums with filters in Europe without a problem. If you go onto any of the German sites you'll be able to find. So I was very frustrated when the McNeils made that announcement. Thank you, Sandra. Well, the reason is that they have really staked their reputation on the Virginias. They do a whole host of blends, or they did a whole host of blends, but it was all very much reliant on the quality Virginias, and they spared no effort on getting good crops of Virginia every year. And just to give you an idea, I think one of them, basically every year they brought out the Christmas cheer of red Virginias, pretty much. And if you have a look in the information leaflet that's in there, okay, this one doesn't say it, but the Christmas cheer ones, usually they'll have had that crop for about 6 or 7 years, and then they release it as a Christmas cheer. This one's 2014. There you go. An outstanding 2009 crop. So That one was 5 years old before they released it. 2016. No, the leaflet's not in there. 2017. Hey Steve. This is a 2013 crop, so that's 4 years old. So you can see just by the fact of the patience that they have, their commitment to producing a fantastic tobacco. So each year they would accumulate the best Virginia that money could buy. Red Virginias. Mostly Red Virginias. And when that started to, the US government started, the FDA, when it started putting in the stricter regulations, they also had on top of that a problem that the government used to subsidize tobacco growers. They used to consider it as a food crop, I think, or amongst that kind of group of products which attracted a grant of some kind, or some kind of subsidy from the government, and that was taken away. And once that was taken away, a huge amount of tobacco growers fell by the wayside, including those that were producing that high quality Red Virginia. And they'd already been saying the writing was on the wall, that they couldn't keep up with their production because they were running out of this good quality tobacco and they couldn't find it anymore. And it came to the point when they just said, you know, they've done the best they can, it's time to call it a day. And they weren't prepared to sell it because, I mean, they're obviously, later on in life, they've sort of had the successes that they've wanted, but their name meant more to them than just selling on the brand. For somebody to make up blends with their licensing, but it wouldn't be the same product, and they just weren't prepared to do it. I don't know how, but I'm getting some tobacco juice through the stem, and this being a meerschaum and with a filter in there, that surprises me. And that's a full bent stem, so I'm not sure why that's happening. I do find the balsa ones are quite expensive though. I would definitely try the balsas again. It's been a while since I've tried them. Lackadaisical is in the house. Northwoods definitely tree. Get some of that Northwoods in you. If you're in the mood for a decent Balkan blend, you'll soon find out why that's my favourite Latakia based blend. Has been for a long time, even though at the end of 2017 I did name Vintage Syrian as my #1, but that was only very short lived. Lackadaisical, you made a video? Yes, I must see. Oh my gosh. Reverse YTPC intro in my obituary narrated by Naturalist Piper. Well, I'm not going to watch it now, but I can see you're smoking a meerschaum and you're doing an old Berg style presentation and your moustache is falling off. Well, Lack, you're a man after my own heart. I shall enjoy watching that later on. Shrekken, what are you smoking at the moment? You smoking a pipe or a cigar? Or nothing? Hey, my gentle dove, how are you? Or is it genteel? Mr. Iksimba, welcome. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Blackpoint is by whom, like? I was going to say that, it sounded like one of those. I assume that's in English, is it? I thought as much if you were smoking it, like. Well, I think GLPs is going to be my next sort of... Oh no, not necessarily GLPs, sorry. Cornell and Deal. I have been enjoying this. First Responders is a vapor. Very nice. Very smooth. No, I haven't tried Virginia number 1. I did just get some Pure Virginia, HH. I got this in from Boswell's. A vapor is a Virginia Perique, which is, yeah, it's short for Virginia Perique, and it's written like that. That seems to be the way to go now, Pipes and Spirits. And that's what I'm doing. But I'm doing it in a very slow way. And you never know what's going to happen, what's around the corner. You never know which one is the one that's going to go bust again. You know, the next day you could get a shock announcement from another company. There'll be a mad rush for for people buying it, and then prices go up. So if you like it, just buy a tin at a time or a couple of tins at a time and slowly build it up. Well, that is the way pipes and spirits, or anything organic, including human beings. Not wishing to be morbid or anything. I wanted to show you a picture of somebody who posted on Facebook of a tobacco hoard. That is somebody's hallway in their house. Just look at the amount of stuff. Hey, Florida Piper. That is a lot of tobacco for sure. If you have a look at, there's quite a few VRs done to Justin Taylor on YouTube. I managed to hold myself back from doing a seller video, but have a look at brain freeze. Hold on, I'll remember his name. Yeah, Jeremy Larson. Have a look at his video. That's a lot of tobacco, and he's got some premium stuff. He's one of these guys that is a web trawler or web crawler or whatever you want to call it, and he's into some of the companies that as soon as they get some of the more difficult stuff to get, he gets it. Lots of Penzance, Stonehaven, Vulcan Sobrani, Butera, lots of those, Pelican stuff. Aged tobaccos generally do. Not everybody sells them for more, but generally they do sell for more. I invested in a bunch of aged tobaccos a while back, and I've been selling that off slowly. This is one of them that I got in that sale. Got a couple of prized tobaccos there, which I think I took off the sale simply because either I'm going to smoke it myself or I'm going to do more research to find out the real value. This is British Woods, which is an Oriental mixture, and this was made for Levin pipes. Now, and this is from 1992, and Levin pipes, all of these, I might have it wrong, but as far as I'm aware, all of these Special Reserve series, a lot of them anyway, were made initially as special blends for Levin pipes, and then McClelland's brought them out themselves. So I've got a couple of these. I've got 2 tins of these 11 pipes, Oriental British Woods, and the other prized one, which again I don't know what I'm doing with yet, is this stuff here. This is Haddo's Delight, which is a vapor. I'm also tempted to smoke. It's an 8-ounce bag from 2003. pipe stud, the stuff on his site is he's got a very good selection. His stuff can be quite pricey. I'm not sure if I watched the Elwood Makers one. Might have done. Which one, Quaker? No. Well, originally I had it on for, can't remember, it was on sale for about 250 quid. But I took it off because I wasn't sure if it was a ridiculous price or if it wasn't enough, or because I saw on Four Noggins they had one of these bags. It wasn't Haddo's Delight, it was a different one, similar vapor I think, and they had it on for I think $550, and it's not there anymore, so I'm assuming it's sold. I then reduced it to about 150 or 190, I can't remember, because I thought I was being ridiculous, but alright. Alistair Crowley, I don't know who that is. And then I'm also very tempted to smoke it myself, so I don't know. Well, then I better not smoke it, like. I don't want to turn into a Satanist. Well, he said Satanist, that's what he wrote. Well, any kind of Satanist I think is going to be a charlatan, don't you think? Well, either way, it sounds like a weirdo. Like you're in the wrong business. Yeah, they do say, I've seen many people saying that we live in a golden age of tobacco at the moment. In America, certainly, and in England, people would smoke the same stuff their whole life, nothing else. You do see that still to some extent. People like Matches smokes Halton Bookshop for the most part. He does smoke other stuff, but he does seem to smoke Haunted Bookshop most of the time, at least that he shares with us. I do have a few still of the McBaron aged stuff. This is a pretty old, I think this is, yeah, so the Fireside Tobacco, I read somewhere that was in the 70s. So this is going to be around 40, almost 50 years old. Some Club Bend roll cut. Barely. I knew I had a tin of this. It's some Prince Albert. It's sealed. And this is going to be old as well. Have you tried it, Tim? Lack, can you shed any light on this stuff? Looks like it comes from your end of the world. Tree, I got a little treat for you. I don't know why I didn't think of it, but I should have sent you these. This is old. I bought a batch of aged tobacco tins a while back, and some of them were rusted. The ones which weren't rusted I sold. And yeah, I'm also getting a bit of a fuzzy picture. Just a second. Hang on. I don't know, it must be my connection, must be a bit off at the moment. Hopefully it'll sort itself out soon. So this is an Old English. I'm trying to see who it was made by. I think it's still sealed actually. Not sure. Yeah, this is still sealed. I can feel movement in the lid though. Got some Flying Dutchman. But this one's pretty much had it. Smells a bit like half and half actually. A little bit aromatic. Yeah, I watched that video, and in fact, that's where I got the indication of the age on those McBaren tins. And then I have an Ogden's St Bruno. This must be very old. And this is a full tin, but it's knackered. It smells disgusting. It's never been opened. The tobacco's not been opened. But look at that. That's had it. but for a collector, this is something special. And this is the golden cut. Also not been opened before. It doesn't look too bad. But it doesn't smell good, I must be honest. True, I wouldn't want you to be putting that in your pipe. Exactly, put that in your pipe and smoke it. The wedding plans. Well, earlier this evening I went over to my mum's to go through the wedding list. Spent a bit of time just making sure that I'd missed out enough people to make her angry. No, I'm just joking. That's always a bone of contention. Why didn't you invite these people or that people or the other people? It's funny to see the generational, how things sort of pass over. When we were putting together the wedding list, the guest list, no, the future son-in-law is not a pipe or cigar smoker. When we were putting together the wedding list, so you know, you've always got to make sure that you invite all your family and your close friends, but certainly in the Jewish circles, in the Orthodox Jewish circles, you've got to invite your family. So we're putting together the list, and my daughter asked, how many can I invite? How many of my friends? And we agreed on a number, but she wasn't happy. She said, it's my wedding. So I said, well, if you pay for the wedding, then you can invite whoever you want. But it's traditional, and when you make a wedding, you have to invite your family. And when I went to my mum tonight to go through the list, it was almost like a repeat of her telling me the same, because there's certain family friends who are really your parents' families, and your parents' friends, not your friends. And obviously that was the same with my daughter. And my mum asked me tonight, have I invited so-and-so? And I said, no. She said, but we always invite them. So I said, I know, but I have restrictions on the numbers. I can only invite a certain amount of people. At the moment, it looks like we're going to have about 360 people at the wedding. Something like that, 350 people, something like that. It's a big wedding. And I said to my mum, I've got to draw a line somewhere. I can't invite any more people. I don't have the numbers. If people come back to us on the RSVP and they say they're not coming, then yes, we can start doing a second round of invitations. But it's funny to see the generational, almost a tradition passing on the same thing. So my mum saying the same thing to me and me saying the same thing to my daughter. Yeah, it is a big wedding. We invited Well, we have like two stages of the wedding. So you have the main sort of dinner, but there's also a traditional part at the beginning of the wedding where you can separate it out. You can invite some people to the dinner, which is close family, and you can invite sort of a lot more people to the. It's like a buffet style, sort of earlier in the day. It's not a sit down, and I think we sent out between our family and the groom's family. I think we sent out over 800 to the buffet, but they won't all come. The Queen said she's busy doing her own wedding list for Harry. Although, I think she might prefer to come to mine, to be honest. I think mine might be more traditional. I think it must be, absolutely, yeah. I think that, I think this must be the first divorcee marriage in the royal family. There's a lot of firsts going on in this wedding. It used to be here as well, but it hasn't been for a long time. Not to the weddings that I've been to, anyway. Are they really, Tim? I haven't really been following it that closely. Of course it's a special day. Any wedding should be a special day. Although I must tell you that as a photographer, many times you do end up having to be a little bit of a counsellor at weddings. And one of the reasons why people take me in my community is because of my very relaxed kind of approach. And that really came, I'm not bragging, I'm just stating a fact. And that came to the fore once when I was once at a wedding, working at a wedding, and it was actually an international wedding. The groom, I think, was from the United States, and the bride was from, I think she was a London girl, I'm not sure. The wedding was certainly in London, and it's possible that she was Australian, possibly, but she lived here, she worked here. Trying to remember the details, going back a few years. Anyway, cut a long story short, the bride's parents and the groom's parents were not talking to each other. And that's a very, very awkward situation to have at a wedding. So when we were starting to do the pictures, I really had a tough time trying to keep things, on an even level. But we managed. That was one of the toughest ones I had. But it worked out okay in the end. There was another time. Maui's in the house, finally. We've been waiting, we've been talking about you for the last hour. Another time at another wedding, I was doing a wedding together with a videographer, I think I've mentioned this before in one of my videos a while back. And the groom just seemed to be off. There was something weird about him. And he was picking fights with people, like with me. I was trying to set up a photo, a family photo. And sometimes family photos can be really big photos, and a lot of people. And I'd spent 5 minutes arranging this big family photo. And as we're about to shoot, the groom says, "No, I want it against that side of the room." It was actually outdoors. And he said, "No, I want it on that side." And we'd already set the whole pose up. And he just wouldn't change his mind. In the end, his mother had to just tell him to put a sock in it and get on with it. And he had no reason for it. And throughout the day and in the evening, he was just very, very off. And I said to the videographer, "Are you seeing what I'm seeing?" He said, "Yeah, something going on." Anyway, a very sad story. It turns out that this kid was bipolar, and he obviously was struggling with the pressures of the day. And sadly, they got divorced a month later. And I've had that more than once. I've had that. I had that with another young couple, where during the marriage ceremony, the groom, he was just, usually when in a heightened emotional sort of point of the ceremony, everybody's focused, and bride and groom are looking at each other or looking at the priest or rabbi, whoever it is. And this groom was just looking all around the room, and his eyes were sort of just wandering everywhere. And again, I had that same really sort of cold feeling, and I wasn't happy. And that same thing turned out there, sadly, where within a month or two they had divorced. And there was obviously some issue with the groom. That first story that I mentioned about the guy that was bipolar, it was a traditional wedding, and this young couple hadn't sort of lived together or anything like that beforehand. And I found myself being in a real quandary, because towards the end of the evening, I really felt like going up to somebody and saying, maybe you want to make sure that this young couple don't consummate the marriage, because there's something dodgy going on here. And I had that chat with the video man. And in the end I decided it's absolutely none of my business. I'm a photographer, just do your job and don't get involved. And that's what I did. But I've always regretted that, because I felt so bad for this young girl who's still not married. I happen to know the family. She's not so young anymore. She must be in her 30s now, 35 maybe. And I've always felt bad that I didn't do something about it. That's what was destined to be, and as I say, none of my business. Bridezilla stories, I haven't really got any. It's usually the grooms in my case, in the weddings that I do. I do get some mothers of the bride. Oh yes. Oh yes. I had a wedding not so long ago, actually. And that was about 6 months ago, 5-6 months ago. And the bride's mother just decided, no, sorry, I tell a lie, it was the groom's mother. The groom's mother decided to just pick on me. When you're a photographer, in your mind, you have this set kind of system, where, especially when you're doing the portraits, in your mind, I've got to do the groom's family, parents, grandparents, siblings, sort of all the best men kind of thing, and the little kids, the old kids. You know, you have this system in your mind how you go through the order of all the pictures to make sure you keep everybody happy and you get all the pictures that you're supposed to get. But if somebody puts you off your game, it can ruin the whole order of things, and you really have to focus and concentrate to get back into the zone. And this mother of the groom, she was intent on undoing me. She was intent on it. And every time I did something, she said, you know, maybe you want to do the pose like this, or maybe I should stand like this. And it was all about her. It was as if the bride and groom were, you know, they weren't the star of the show. It wasn't their day. And yeah, it was just interesting. Yeah, I mean, that definitely puts me off my stride when people say, do it like this, do it like that. When you're a photographer, you know, if people book you, you hope that they book you for your style of photography. And that's one thing which also puts me off big time. If people say, when I go to them for a meeting before the wedding, I always spend time with the family just to break the ice and to get to understand them a little bit, and I find it pays huge dividends on the day itself. And a lot of times I'll go in and they'll pull out these albums from weddings that they've had previously. I like the way this photographer does his pictures. Can you do that? And I'll show them the albums that I've done. I'll bring along some samples. And my style of photography is very blended, very mixed. I do a bit of traditional, I do a bit of modern, I do a bit of arty stuff, a bit of sort of soft light and all that kind of. I do a bit of everything. And I always say the same thing to people. I said, this is what I do, and if you want that photographer, book that photographer, you know. But for the most part, I have to say, it's generally speaking a good experience. It's a happy experience, and I always do my best to get into the spirit of the day, and I try to get happy and dance along sometimes, you know, just to be part of the. I like to feel the happiness because the photography is better that way. I really like to get into the groove of the wedding if I can. Well, in terms of a wingman, usually, if there's a videographer, we tend to sort of work as a team when we can. But I generally work on my own. I prefer that. When I first started doing photography, there was two things which I made a firm principle. One was, when it came to my equipment, is to buy the absolute best that I could afford, which is why when I went over to Canon, all my lenses are L lenses, which are the professional range of lenses. If you go to all the sports events, you see these big beige coloured lenses. Those are Canon L lenses. Although I don't use those big lenses, it's those are not the right lenses for weddings, but the ones that I use are L lenses. That was one principle, to use the best equipment that I can. And the second principle was to work on my own. I tried having people assisting me, and you just can't rely on people. It's just, you know, it's just life. And the same with processing the pictures. When people want their albums, sometimes they have to wait a few months until they're ready, depending on how busy I've been. And they're so impatient because they know that some kid could take a camera and spit them out on a computer 5 hours later. It doesn't mean that I can do that, because they say, well, why don't you hire somebody to process them? And that's because if somebody else processes them, they won't look the way my photos look. And so I'm very fussy that way. I'm extremely fussy about how my pictures look before I give them over to the families. And so sometimes people have to wait. But in this day and age, people are impatient. And I'm sure I've lost a lot of work that way, because people know that I take a bit of time. I've been prattling on for so long. Anybody else got anything else they want to talk about? Yeah, you do have to be fussy. I'll show you a couple of pictures actually. I haven't really shown them before, but I'll show you what I mean about this type of pictures and why I'm fussy about it. I've got a Dropbox on my phone here somewhere. No, Max, you've only had 5. You can see the lighting effects here that I've used. This was in pitch black. These pictures were taken. I have portable lighting, and this picture was taken with 4 lights. So you can see, I don't know if you guys are interested in this or not. If it's boring, I'll shut up. But you can see the lighting there. See that it's called a hair light. And you can see in the back of the veil, you can see the lighting on that as well. And if you have a look on this one, the lighting on the grass at the back, and on the tree. So this is not high speed, the opposite, this is slow, in order to get the lighting effects. But you need to have you need to understand lighting to get that kind of effect. You can just about see some of the halo from one of the flashes there. It's a little bit overexposed, but that's better. Yeah, so that's some of my work. Yeah. I'm sorry, Phil, if the pictures haven't been coming through well enough. Hey, Tavian. I must tell you, Tim, that you raise a very good point about the pressure. And what I've learnt over the years is that I used to get into a groove whereby I'd go through the motions, and that was it. And I'd get a fairly decent set of pictures. And I've learnt over the years that you just have to always go one stage further. So a lot of times there won't be enough time to do outdoor shots, or there won't be enough time to do indoor shots, and I'll always persevere and find a way to do something extra, and it always makes a difference. I benefit from it every single time. That's one of the things I've learnt. But the pressure, and I have learnt this as well, is that if you don't feel pressurized on the day, then you're not doing your job properly. A lot of people say that about certain jobs, and you have to feel that nervousness and that pressure and that anticipation, that rising bile when you're starting, nervousness, that, you know, because it is a big responsibility. You're recording somebody's day, and if you don't approach it with some trepidation, you know, you've got to have that a little bit of that fear factor to make you do your job, I find. That's it, Tavian. looks like it came from Germany originally. 750, whatever that is. I use an iPhone. That's right, Sandra, I'm sure you have the same. I use day to day, when I'm out and about, generally I use this, which is an iPhone 6s, but when I'm here on the desk or when I'm taking videos in the car, I use an SE, an iPhone 5 SE, and it does a fantastic job. I like the 5 SE because it's comfortable, it's soft, it's small, and it does a great job. It's got a good processor. So I have one phone for work and one phone for personal, and I use the iPhone 5 SE for personal and the 6s for work. I used to use this for all my videos, but I have a problem with the microphone. Might remember it from some of my videos previously where the sound went up and down the whole time. I don't know what it caused it, but so I stopped using it, and I tried the one I'm using now, the 5 SE, and it works fine. I've jumped around. I tried the 7, I think, briefly for a day maybe, and took it back. I've considered going Samsung, but so far I haven't done it. All the later versions of the Canon SLRs. Florida Piper, now you're going, you haven't even said hello yet. Thank you for joining, have a great dinner. Josh, if nobody's mentioned to you anything about the picture in your video, then you need not change it. The only time ever that I would consider, spending money on a YouTube video where I'm not making any money would be simply if the quality wasn't there. But anything from an iPhone 5 onwards is going to be absolutely fine. Yeah, that's tough, Tim, when you have to sell gear, but the truth of the matter is, nowadays, any of the DSLRs are perfect. The quality of the chips are phenomenal. Even if you get the lower end, sort of entry-level DSLRs, they're all going to be perfectly adequate for any kind of photography. And when you want to move up into professional realms, it's really about the lighting. It's about your eye coordination, timing, but most of all, in my experience, and I'm not by any means a top-grade photographer, but in my experience, lighting is key to everything. Whether it's natural light or artificial light, lighting is everything when it comes to photography. I'm not talking about candid photography so much, but more about portrait photography. Lighting is very important. Photography is my main source of income. I'll put it this way, it's what I spend the most of my time on. That and YouTube videos. Uh-oh, that was a good camera. Hang on. This is a 700D. It's not by any means entry level, but it's not far off. I don't use this for work, but it's one I have knocking around at home. I use it just for family stuff. But the quality of the photos is just as good as any, depending on the ISO you're using. If you're on a low ISO, 100, 200 ISO, this will match any other camera. And this you can buy online, second hand, for 150 quid. I mean, it's just ridiculous. the quality of the chips these days. I have a Fuji Xe1 knocking around somewhere, which my kids use. Tim, the pictures that I've seen are fantastic. The one that you use on your logo is a really gorgeous picture of the pipe sitting on that moss-covered something or other. And that's a really good use of light. All right, Quaker. Not as much as I used to. I used to try and get out, especially on vacation, to try and take some, really nice landscape shots, but I don't really get the chance, to be honest. Photography nowadays is completely different to what it was in your dad's times. And when I got married, or when my parents got married, I look back at my parents' photos, and although the lighting wasn't great, the traditional it really had a 1920s feel to it. They didn't get married in the 20s, they got married, when did they get married? Probably in the 60s. I think they got married in the mid-60s, around 63, 64, that kind of time. And in those days, the photographer charged you by the roll of film that they used. But today, with digital photography, it's completely changed the whole way that people cover events. That's actually a very nice idea, Sandra. A very nice idea. I was looking recently at some of the images on the Pipes and Tobacco magazine. At the end of the magazine, there's always a featured picture. So there's one. It's taken with an old vintage box camera. There's another one. Yeah, it's a good idea. I might give that some thought, Sandra. Yes, Maui. This meerschaum is definitely getting some good use. I picked it up on Tuesday and I've probably smoked it half a dozen times already. One is a very good camera. Cheers, Lack. Of course I will, Lack. No question about it. I look forward to it. I'm definitely gonna watch it. Don't worry. I will comment as well, and I'll subscribe. Hasselblad, I never got into. I certainly salivated after them in the early days. And they've got digital backs for their cameras, but they're ridiculously expensive. But that's obviously a large format, a lot of it as well, which nobody uses it anymore. Large format, perhaps, I'm not even sure if they do anymore, but mostly fashion photography and advertisement. They use large format cameras, and landscape photographers. But the main two, the Nikons and Canons, they're top of the range cameras. You know, you don't need more than that. My main workhorse camera is a 5D Mark III. The 5D Mark IV has come out recently, but at the moment I don't feel the need to change it. You know, there's always going to be something better around the corner, and the Mark III does me very well. I've got a Mark II as a backup body, which was my previous workhorse, and that's fine. I'm happy with that. Good idea, Josh. Yeah, definitely. But I'm not sure that there's a market for it. Certainly not on a commercial sense. It'd be nice to do as a project, but it certainly wouldn't be a commercial venture. Yeah, a table book would be the right way to go, but I just don't think there'll be enough of a market. Because to make it commercial, you'd have to charge a lot of money for that book. You know, to be honest, unless somebody had a huge amount of disposable income, and that's two now, unless you had a huge amount of disposable income, a good coffee table book, well produced with glossy images, you've got to be prepared to pay 50, 60, 70 pounds for. Now, if somebody had 60, 70 pounds, depending on your hobby, obviously, on the hobby that you're photographing, but if somebody had 60, 70 pounds, you'd spend that on tobacco or a pipe, wouldn't you, if you didn't have a huge amount of disposable income? So, I'm not sure. Yeah, it might be an idea. I'd have to maybe make inquiries into how much it would cost to produce, to print it. Ansel Adams used large format. It possibly was Hasselblad, but that's large format film. That's a nice idea as well, yeah. Tree. A good place for photo books is places like Amazon and eBay, to buy them second hand. I bought a Dunhill one a while back. I look at it every so often, but it's a nice piece of history. I bought that because that, if you remember the video I did of that guy in Dunhill shop, which I had to take down, but he showed me this Dunhill book, and I straight away went online to see if I could find it, and I managed to find one. Matches 86 here in October. Why October? It'd have to be on a Friday though, with his Savinelli, wouldn't it? On the calendar. Oh, right. The problem with this, when I'm trying to tip out some old ash, I find that the whole dottle comes out with it, because it's obviously a smoother bowl. I do find that often I lose the whole thing, the whole tobacco comes out. So I have to do that very gently because it is starting to taste a little bit ashy. It's been going quite long, this bowl. What are we now, 100 minutes? So it's a pretty sizable pipe. So it's perfect for a video like this. Sergeant is now. Sergeant serving early. He's got some interesting sayings, hasn't he? Comes up with some corkers. What are you smoking tonight, Maui? No, I should have guessed. I mentioned you before. I showed the jar that you sent me. I took that jar with me to the Pipe Club meet on Tuesday, and that was what I first used to have my first smoke in this pipe. It's right here. I haven't tried it yet. Get another smell. Has it got some aromatics in there as well? In this blend, I'm smelling a little bit of like a vanilla kind of aroma in there. A little bit of lactic. What has it got in this, Maui? I think he's talking about Wilkies. Smoked, not stirred. Yeah, I would actually like to get something akin to what Josh has done, some kind of, or like matches, some kind of clip at the beginning to introduce the videos. I used to have a, yes I am smoking a filter in there, Phil. I used to put my logo on, but I just got into the groove of cutting down my editing time, and even though it's just another second to import that picture, but I just stopped doing it. If anybody's offering to make me something, I would richly reward them. So, yeah, I would like some kind of intro, would be nice. I am smoking a filter in here, Phil, and but I still find I'm getting a bit of moisture in the stem every so often. Introduce their programs. This is London. It is a deep bowl. It is a very deep bowl. It's interesting that Maui. It's possible that the Latakia and the Burley are giving off that kind of aroma. It's a bit sweet, the aroma. I have no idea, Josh. I don't really know. That's the thing. I suppose it could be having some kind of animation of London. You know, the London, the what do you call it? The horizon. What do you call that? The skyline, the London skyline with Big Ben and the various towers, that kind of thing. Perhaps with smoke billowing out from somewhere. That would be quite nice. London Calling. I think London Calling. I should really change my channel to London Calling, if there is such a name available on YouTube. St James. I should flipping well hope you're enjoying it. Don't know how much you paid for it, but you were too embarrassed to tell me, obviously. Either that or the wife was watching, but I'm sure you paid a fair price for it. Even if it was cheap, it would still have been, I'm guessing, it would have still been a few $100s at least. That's a good idea, Phil. With a crackly kind of soundtrack. This is London. What ho, chaps? Tally ho and all that. A bit of the old Jeeves and Wooster. This is London. I think that's a good idea. Getting a crackly old recording of the BBC World Service. Do I like where I live, Pipes and Spirits? It's an interesting question. It's a bit out there. For the most part, yeah. For the most part, I like it a lot. If you mean London generally, or just where I live, around where I live, it's very nice where I live. I do find that my biggest problem is parking, but other than that, it's very nice. I don't remember how it originally started. Nice one, Tree. Oh, I see, right, I got you, Quaker. No, I took it from the BBC. And that's where they would have taken it from as well, in the song. If any of you guys watched, alright, here, next brain freeze. Comedian, English comedian, depressive, topped himself. Not Kenneth Williams. Come on, Tree. Tim. had a TV show. Tony Hancock, of course. I used to absolutely love Tony Hancock. I listened to him literally all day long, going back 10 years or 15, 20 years ago. So in one of his shows, he has an international chess game over the radio, and when he plays with some Japanese guy or some over the radio, the CB, the ham radio, I think he also says London Calling. It's just so sad. So many comedians are really quite depressive people. Kenneth Williams, I also absolutely loved his style of humour. The old British classics are just unbeatable. Steptoe and Son, classic. Benny Hill, yeah. Benny Hill was a little bit more eclectic. He was a bit... Harry Worth? No, I don't remember that. I used to listen to the news headlines with Roy Hudd on Radio 2, 10 o'clock on a Thursday night. That used to give me such a warm feeling when I heard that music. The Grumbleweeds. Anybody remember the Grumbleweeds? Showing our age now. Rising Damp, another classic, fantastic. Alf Garnett, very unpolitically correct, but hilarious. Well, it could be anybody. Could be the two Ronnies, Jeeves and Wooster. How long ago are you talking about, Maui? Les Dawson, another one, yeah. British greats, British greats. Yeah, I've talked about Billy Connolly before. He's fantastic. Absolutely love his comedy. I think he suffers from dementia now, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, hi. Oh yeah, I didn't know that. That's sad. If you guys ever get a chance to watch An Audience with Billy Connolly, it's quite an old one, but it's probably, for me, it's one of his funniest ever performances. I literally fall off my chair laughing when I watch that. The sketch about the incontinence trousers, incontinence pants, that one just cracks me up every single time. Mr. Bean's very funny. Robin Williams, I went through a time when I searched every single one of his things out to try and watch it, because I also went through a period of overdosing on his stuff. Fantastic. It's just beyond compare. But I must admit that after a while, it just got a little bit too much. It's the same staccato kind of delivery, which is what he was great for, but I found that a lot of the stuff was repetitive after a while, and it was all very similar, very samey. Richard Pryor, yeah, definitely. I do like some of the American comedians now, some of the newer ones. I'm trying to remember the names. Schlesinger, Eliza Schlesinger. I think she's quite funny. Bill Burr is awesome. I would say that he's one of my favorite American comedians of this time. There's another guy, I don't know how well known he is. I'm trying to find it. His delivery is, for me, it's phenomenal. I'm just going to try and find his name. Hey Mike, how you doing? So Elisa Schlesinger, but there's another guy, I just can't remember his name, as usual. I mean, Louis C.K. is pretty good, but I prefer Bill Burr. Aziz Ansari is funny. Aziz Ansari is very funny. But I'm trying to find the name of another guy, and I can't find it. It's got kind of a deadpan delivery, and a lot of it is quite, I wouldn't say sick jokes, but he's on the edge. And I can't remember. But Bill Burr, he's got a huge amount on YouTube. If you listen to some of his, he has these, not blogs, what do you call them? Anyway, he transmits lots of, he's got a radio show, is it? Or a, don't know what you call it. But he's got there's some stuff out there which is 2.5 hours long. George Carlin I've recently gotten into. Hey, Aaron, how you doing? George Carlin is also pretty out there, but I actually absolutely love his podcast. I actually love his comedy. George Carlin is. The first sketch that I heard of George Carlin was stuff. My stuff. Where did I keep my stuff? So much stuff. It's just phenomenal how he takes a simple topic of having too much stuff. It lasts for half an hour, and it's just so true. A lot of the stuff he says. A lot of the stuff is his own personal opinion. I wouldn't necessarily agree with it, being a religious person, but he's very funny, George Carlin. He also got a huge amount of stuff on there. A lot of podcast stuff, 2-3 hours long, some of it. I sometimes just put it in my earphones when I go to bed and I listen to that stuff. Yeah. I'm trying to remember the name of that guy. I just can't remember his name. Another one is Gabriel Iglesias. I like him. It's very fun. Yeah, that's right. I can't remember his name. Anyway, it'll come to me at some point. Russell Peters is very good as well. Sorry for the silence, I'm just trying to find this guy. Talk amongst yourselves. I don't think I'm going to find Eddie Murphy's a good one. There was a time when I listened to him a lot as well. Pretty blue stuff, but funny. Yeah, I remember Potty Time. It's potty time! Oh, that's very frustrating when you're trying to find something and you can't. C'est la vie. Oh, this might be him. That's it, yep. Anthony Jeselnik. There you go. In your work you find. Seek and you shall find. Anthony Jeselnik. Anybody else listen to him? %, Phil. I keep telling that to my kids. Sometimes when we're sitting at the table, especially if it's a special meal like a Sabbath meal or something like that. So it's always a time to, I always try and find a nice thing to say at the table, a nice story or a nice, just some, you know. And sometimes there'll be a bit of silence. And my kids say, awkward silence. And I say, no, it's not awkward silence. When you're amongst family, you're amongst friends, silence is a wonderful thing. You don't need to feel like you have to pierce the silence. Nothing wrong with that. Actually, that reminds me of my father-in-law. He passed away from cancer going back about 10, 12 years ago. And I remember he was in the middle of treatment, and so he needed to be transported from one hospital to another, and he was taken in a private ambulance. And so I don't know why, but it ended up being me to go with him. And I don't know what it was, but for whatever reason I ended up going with him. I was very happy to do it, but he was really ill, and so he was lying on this stretcher in the ambulance, and we said, you know, exchanged pleasantries, so to speak, but I really didn't know what to say. You know, he was going through obviously a very tough time, and I just didn't know what to say. And I said to him, I'm sorry that I don't have what to say. So he said, don't worry, silence is a good thing, don't feel that you have to speak. He was a very wise man. Anyway, but that reminded me when we talked about the silence. Good night, Steve, thanks for joining. Silence is golden. Oh yeah, I've got a couple under 10 as well. Hey, you beautiful, beautiful people. Crosby's Corner is in the house. Chad is in the house too. You have to excuse me while I fuel up a little bit. There is a well-known Jewish saying, the key to wisdom is silence. But not silence as in quiet, but silence as in keeping your trap shut, especially at times when you might want to speak, and just absorbing whatever it might be, whether it's negativity or something argumentative, and keeping quiet. Smoke, yeah, definitely. Are you religious, Phil? Oh, you don't have to answer that, just a question. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of eating. I'm just fueling up because I want to have a cigar. And I don't want to have an empty stomach. I said, are you religious? But you don't have to answer that question. Yes, good night, Meerschaum, indeed. Question is what cigar to have. Any ideas? What's left of some kind of chocolate thing, cake of some kind, which is actually about 3 days old. I bought it when I went to work one day, didn't eat it, and it's been sitting in this bag. Sometimes 3-day-old stuff is better than when it's fresh. My dad always says, waste not, want not, which is why I'm a good few stone overweight. Hey Boris, nice to have you on board. Oh. Oh, I see. I was smoking 40th anniversary. This, people, is what's left of English Legacy, which I got in March 2016, blended by Briar Boy of Meerschaum fame. I bought half a pound at the time. Don't know if you remember, Aaron. I've put this in because it needed a little bit of moisturising, but this is as good strong Latakia blend. Quite big pieces, big chunks of tobacco in there. What you got in there, Briar Boy, Aaron? What I can see Virginia's obviously, and there's obviously Latakia in there. Is that it? Straight Latakia Virginia? Cheers, Phil. Yes, your 10 minutes are up finally. Enjoy your dinner. Have a great evening. Right, cigars. Well, I'll have to try it again. I haven't smoked it in a long time. At the time, I think I found it a little bit too strong for me, but that was in the early days. Perhaps now I'll enjoy it a bit more. Oh, I'm going to smoke a San Luis Rey Tesoros. This is a Spanish regional from, I think it's 2016. Somebody just sent me an email, somebody called Michael, don't know who this is, and he says, had to get another, and then he sent me this picture. Looks like a nice pipe. Is that an S-Bang? Is that, it's not you, Maui, is it? Oh, it is you, Maui. Ha ha ha. Tad bites again. Somebody else sent me a message I should try Seersucker from Cornell and Deal. It's a cigar leaf. I'm not sure if I've tried the cereal. Have a good one, Maui. Thanks for joining. Thanks again for that lovely package. Well, Aaron's the man to talk to about meerschaums. Okay, welcome to the game. Well, I've never smoked anything other than tobacco. I'm a boring old flatulator. Mike, your B&M got any McClellan stuff left? This one was made by Jason Bruno, 304 Woodworks. In the good old US of A. Got some copper shavings in there, or brass. Really nicely turned. Two types of wood. And this is magnetic and interchangeable with a cork knocker, pipe knocker. That's fragrant matured cake. What is that? Is that a Virginia? Is it a red Virginia? It's got quite a few good 4-star ratings on tobacco reviews. I've just had a quick look. I've not really had a huge amount of McClelland aromatics. Any of you guys got experience with them as to whether you get the artificial sort of metallic flavours that you get from some aromatics, the alcohol or artificial sweeteners? Guys, excuse me for a moment. I'm just going to fill my water. And with that, Easy Street. That's isn't that one with a like a walnutty flavour? I think I've had that one. I haven't really tried much in the way of alcohol with pipes and cigars. It tends to be mostly coffee or Diet Coke for me. There's a topic we haven't mentioned yet tonight, gentlemen. Let's see who's first to get it. I am, of course, talking about... No, not cigars. There we go. We have not talked about the Don tonight. So what do we think of his latest announcement re-Iran? Must be honest, I'm not big on American politics, but this whole Iran deal I was very surprised in the first place. The political engine in Iran is extremely extreme, and I was always surprised that they trusted them to denuclearize, if you like, or stop developing nuclear power or weapons. Yeah, I was listening to a program on LBC. They were talking about Netanyahu's big announcement about finding those records, and they were saying that that was all news. That this was the documents that they found were from before the deal. But I don't know, the whole thing didn't make sense to me. Anybody got any clue about that? Trulia from Vaughan. No, never tried that. I don't think I've had any Vaughan blends. Or Vaughan, as some people pronounce it. Probably the Germans actually pronounce it like that. I've yet to get a Vaughan cigar pipe actually. In toying with the idea. I did pick up another Nerup, even though I'm not officially buying pipes. But I did pick one up on eBay. Mr. Eximba, you're talking about America justifying more military expenditure. Well, conspiracy theories will abound. There's no avoiding that. I don't think we'll ever really know the truth. Trullery. Have you tried it yourself, Mike? How was that bowl of Northwoods tree? I don't know if you guys saw this in the video. I haven't smoked it yet. Lovely little pot. A potty pot, indeed. It's got a lovely stain. It's got nice, like a reddish kind of, gives you sort of the impression of a flame sort of licking up the side of the bowl. I haven't fired it up yet. I'm smoking, Shrekken, a Saint Louis Rey Tesoros. And actually, twist is nice. I am finding, I must be honest, that that the McClelland blends are spoiling me a little bit. In that whenever I smoke any other Virginias or Vapors, that they're a little bit mild in comparison. They don't have that breadth of flavour that the McClelland Virginias do, and the spiciness. Got some really old Twist Flake. I've got some of the more recent stuff on Full Noggin, but that the Esrati sale, I picked up this vacuum packed. There's about, I don't know, maybe 10 flakes in there from 2003. Vacuum packed. It looks really nice and dark and rich. I haven't quite got myself to open this up yet. I'm really imagining that this will be some good tobacco. This one's nice. I should really, like with most of the cigars, I should really let them sit for longer. But they're pretty good to smoke now, but they will be a lot better in a few years. So has anybody yet come up with a replacement for McClelland's? Something which gives that same or close flavour sensation? I do like punch cigars. I've got some Punch Punch in the humidor, and I've got the LCDH, the 48 ring edge from Punch, and they're very nice. They've got a really nice sweetness to them, but they definitely taste a lot better with a bit of age. So your ones, 8 years, should be beautiful. I'm not sure I'd leave them much longer. You might start to lose a little bit of the richness in the oils. Hey Jim, yeah, we're still on. I'm not sure how long the longest one has been so far, but we're getting there. We're not far off. Well, I don't think we'll get to 4 hours tonight. We're just approaching 3. Where does the time go? It's now 20 to 3 in the morning. It's a good job. It's Sunday. I was talking mainly about the McClelland Virginias, but Throgmorton Cellar was a big one for a lot of people. I haven't got much of Frog Cellar, but I've got a bit. I've got a couple of ounces in a jar, and I think I've got one 50-gram tin, and I've got another 50-gram tin making its way over from the US at the moment, and that's it. But it's nice enough. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I enjoyed it. It was for me. It was a stepping stone. Yeah, I would say the same, Jim. It was more of a stepping stone for me. Moving over into Latakia blends. For me, I think that the Cellar was probably the best of all the Throgmortons. Oh yeah, there's loads. But I still haven't come up with one that gives me that kind of breadth of flavour. Yeah, somebody mentioned Black Point earlier on. I think it was Lackadaisical. I think he was smoking it. I wouldn't call myself an insomniac. I would call myself a night owl as opposed to insomniac, because I could sleep if I went to sleep. Although I had a bit of a kick this afternoon, so I might have struggled a bit, but oh, the fizz on this tin is amazing. It must be like really old. No, it's just a Diet Coke. Capston's alright, Erinmore's alright. But I do find that again, that after McClelland's, and I'm going on a bit about it, but it is pretty much on its own, on the sort of spiciness that they managed to get out of the Virginias. I don't know if they top it with stuff or not, but it is. Full Virginia flake is a very nice flake. And really and truly, I have to, in my own mind, settle on the fact that McClelland Virginias are just, I've mentioned this before, they're really a category on their own. Whereas if you take Capston, McBaron's, Samuel Gawith, all the other sort of more traditional flakes, they're all very similar. But they're all their own kind of thing, but they're all similar. They're all of the same genre. For me, at least, in my early stages of sort of getting to know Virginias, I would say that McClelland Virginias are just a different category. They're something different. I don't know how to categorize them, but they're something different. You couldn't really compare a McClelland Christmas cheer to Full Virginia Flake, or to Capston, or to Peter Stokerby's, any of them. It's just a different experience for me. Full Virginia Flake definitely, well, like most Virginias, but certainly Full Virginia Flake benefits from age. And I would also say that if that you're probably better off jarring some of it because I think it does well when it's had some air to it. If in the medium term, I mean, if you're aging it for in the long term, then leave it in the tins for sure. Most definitely, Shrek, and there's no question about it. You cannot compare the cigar community to the pipe community. It's a different beast completely. And I kind of straddle both to some extent. But in reality, that's actually a fallacy, because there isn't, in my experience anyway, a community as such. There's, probably hundreds of thousands of cigar smokers on YouTube, but there isn't this sort of umbrella of YTPC when it comes to cigars. Not that I've come across anyway. You don't have this brotherly kind of feeling at all with cigar smokers. There are plenty of cigar smokers who have a great relationship and interactions, and they have giveaways, but there isn't. It's just not the same. Yeah, that is pretty much a lot of the people who are posting on Instagram. It's the Rolexes and the expensive. Most days you'll see people just sort of showing a selection of really expensive cigars, the Cohibas, the limited editions, just showing all the great cigars that they've got, and that's great. I enjoy looking at them, but it's not a community as such. When I post a picture of my cigars, I'll post a picture of the cigar that I'm smoking. I very rarely. Not to say that I'm not a show-off. I am. I'm a born show-off, but. Showing off, right? Look at this beautiful lighter. Margate very much reminds me of Royal Jersey, Latakia. Very, very similar. I think it's very, very, maybe not as similar as Stonehaven and Rich Dark Flake, but they're very similar to me. Romeo and Julieta is very nice, but also needs age. Otherwise they're very insipid, very bland when they're smoked fresh, to my palate anyway. Some of you would have seen my video, my rant about Cuban cigars recently. I think some people misunderstood it, judging by the comments. I think some people thought I was dissing Cuban cigars generally and saying that I prefer non-Cubans. That's actually not the case. I still... the short Churchills, they're all good. The short Churchills, wide Churchills, they're all good. They just need some age. I've mentioned before that in one of my previous live streams that I'd bought a box of short Churchills in 2016 sometimes, a box of 10, and I smoked one at the time, and it was absolutely rank. It was horrible, and I just chucked it at the back of the humidor and left it and forgot about them. A year and a half later I smoked them, and they're a completely different cigar. I've got some white Churchills from 2012ish, and they're delicious, absolutely delicious. But if you buy one, if I go to a B&M and I buy one and smoke it there and then from 2017, it just won't be the same. Well, Mr. Shanyu, I don't know how you pronounce that. Shunryux. Shunryux. It's like an Oriental Latakia. I think is a good way of describing Margate. It's got quite a sweet and sour note for me, anyway. But I found that Royal Jersey, which I think is very similar. I don't know why, but I used to get heartburn when I smoked it. The Royal Jersey version. Well, Shrekken, it really depends on your. I think it was you that mentioned this in one of your comments. It really depends on your B&M. If they don't keep their humidor, within the correct parameters, then yeah, you're going to get dry smokes. But sometimes a dry smoke is actually good. I mean, I know there's some people out there, when they're going to smoke a cigar, they'll take it out of the humidor and leave it for 3 days out of the humidor before they smoke it. Humidity is, you need that for aging the cigars and for it to get the best out of the cigar. But when you smoke it, if it's drier, the combustion is better, apparently, and well, it would be if it's drier. But some people just prefer them dry when they smoke it. The draw tends to be better because it contracts internally, and therefore there's more room for the airflow. You like to chomp on your cigars, do you? No, I don't chomp on them at all. Mine are virtually unaffected by being smoked. Some people, you see the head of their cigars just completely chomped to bits. There's nothing left. But mine usually, I'm quite a dry smoker when it comes to that. Alternatively, you could always go the way that Briar Boy does, for instance, and have a mouthpiece. I think you use, I don't know if you're still there, I think you use a Meerschaum one, don't you? Arturo Fuentes are nice. I call them a middle of the road smoke. They've got a nice, nutty, straight, not complicated, just an enjoyable, any time of the day kind of smoke. I didn't really get the Opus X line. I've smoked a couple. I've got a couple still in my humidor, Tapador, but haven't really got those. Gotten the concept of them, I should say. Actually, you know who's missing? Kevin. We haven't seen Kevin tonight. That's surprising. Kevin Twiner, or Twinner. Tree, if you're still on, I had intentions of possibly coming down to one of your local car boot sales, but my wife put the kibosh on that. Too many things to be done in preparation for the wedding. But I do hope to do so in the future. I will get in touch with you one of these days, and perhaps we can meet up at one of those car boot sales one Sunday morning. Alright people, I think the time has arrived. Are they only on during the summer, Tree, or is it throughout the year, the car boot sales? Alright. So what, till around the end of August, something like that? And August is probably the busiest time, I guess. Cheers, Mike. Cheers, Shrekken. Which one would you say is the best one for tobacco, Tree? Alright, people. Tree, perhaps we'll get in touch by direct message. Guys, thank you very much for a wonderful chat tonight. The length of the video is testament to the enjoyment. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Tree. Thank you, Tavian. Thank you, Oki. Thank you, Mr. Shanrix, Sandro, Shrekken, Mike, Mr. Eximba, and everybody else. If I have James Stuff, and everybody else who joined. Thank you very much for making this a very successful live video, and we will catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys. Thanks, Tim.